Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Let's recite the Mangalacharan prayers offering to our Guru Shishya Parampara and Krishna together. Om
Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Tasmai
Tasmai
Shri
Shri Gurave
Gurave Namaha.
Namaha.
Shri
Shri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Manobhishtam
Manobhishtam
Sthapitam
Tapitam
Yena
Yena
Bhutale
Bhutale
Swayam
Swayam
Rupa
Rupa Kadamayam
Kadamayam
Tadati
Dadati
Swapadantikam
Swapadantikam Vandeham
Vandeham
Shri
Sri
Guru
Guru
Shri
Sri
Yuta
Yutapata
Padakamalam
Kamalam
Shri
Sri
Guru
Gurun Vaishnavanscha
Vaishnavanscha
Sri
Shri
Rupa
Rupam
Sagrajatam
Sagrajatam
Sagana
Sahagana
Raghunathanvitam
Raghunathanvitam
Tam
Tam
Sajivam
Sajivam
Sadvaitam
Sadvaitam
Savadutam
Savadutam Parijana
Parijana
Sahitam
Sahitam Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Devam
Devam
Sri
Shri
Radha
Radha
Krishna
Krishna
Padam Sagana
Padam
Lalita
Sahagana
Sri
Lalita Shri
Vishakhanvitam Cha
Vishakhanvitam Cha He Krishna
He Krishna
Karuna
Karuna
Sindhu
Sindho
Dinabandhu
Dinabandho
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopesha
Gopesha Gopika Kanta
Gopikanta Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta Namostute
Namostute Tapta
Tapta
Kanchana
Kanchana
Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute
Vrishabhanusute
Devi
Pranamami
Pranamami
Hari
Hari
Priye
Priye
Vancha
Vancha
Kalpatarubhyascha
Kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa
Kripa Sindhubhya
Sindhubhya
Eva Cha
Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo Namah
Namaha Namo
Nama Om Vishnu
Padaya
Padaya
Krishna
Krishna
Preshtaya
Preshtaya Bhutale
Bhutale
Srimate
Srimate
Bhaktivedanta
Bhaktivedanta
Swami
Swami
Niti Namine
Namine
Namaste
Namaste
Saraswate Deve
Saraswate Gauravani
Gauravani
Pracharine
Pracharine
Nirvishesha
Nirvishesha
Shunyavadi
Shunyavadi
Paschatya
Paschata Deshatarine
Jai
Jai Shri
Shri
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara Srivasa
Srivasadi
Adi
Gaura
Gaura
Bhaktarvrinda
Bhaktarunda
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama
Hare
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 Hare Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. We are reading from the 8th chapter and we are going to read the last verse today. So we are going to finish one very beautiful chapter and waiting for another nice secret chapter, confidential knowledge. Okay, so far in this chapter, there are so many things we've covered, but it all started with Arjuna's about 8 questions. And then the first 7, Krishna answered immediately in 2 shlokas. And then the last question, how can we think of Krishna at the time of death, is what Krishna took the whole chapter to elaborate on various aspects related to death. So first he mentioned in the beginning that whatever state of being one is at the time of living body, that state, that type of body he will attain for sure. And then if one thinks of him when living this body, then he will attain his abode, spiritual world for sure. And then that's why he recommends that one should always think of him. Then he gives us an explanation, description how we can think of him, how we can meditate on him. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram. So we can think of him as the person who is knower of everything, who is the controller of everything, who is the greatest, and at the same time he's very smallest than the smaller than the smallest, and he is the Omkara, and all that different features he explained about himself, how we can think about him. And then he started elaborating on how we can attain his abode, or how we can reach the spiritual planet by thinking of him in different aspects in the yoga or dhyana or eventually bhakti, and how bhakti is the supreme, how we can attain ananya shintayanto ma ye jana paryupasate. Actually, no. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityasha tasya ham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. He said in the 14th verse that one who thinks of me, Ananya, then for him I am very easy to obtain. Sulabha partha, tasyaham sulabha. And then he explained that one who is always engaged in devotional service, he doesn't have to come back to this material world, which he refers as dukkhalayam ashashvatam, which is the place of miseries, as well as everything here is temporary. It is always uh, getting created and annihilated again and again. And but one who goes to him, then he doesn't have to come to this place where there is always janma mrityu is going on. Abrahma bhuna loka punaravartino arjuna. Mam upetya kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. That he doesn't have to take birth again if we go back to him. Then he gives description of the material planet and the spiritual planetary system. So about the material world, he is giving, even though he gives the reference of Brahma's life. So one day of Brahma is like millions of years, and the same is his night, and that's how the whole universe ends at the end of Brahma. But even that we considered as millions and trillions of years long life, but it is still temporary. And everything gets created and annihilated again and again. When Brahma's day comes, everything comes into being. His nights comes, everything gets into dormant, unmanifested state again. And this cycle goes on. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. Then he gives description of the spiritual kingdom, that parastasmat tu bhava anya vyakta avyakta sanatana, that there is something superior, para, than this material world, which is sanatana, which is eternal, which doesn't have to go through this creation and annihilation again and again, and which stays always, even though this material universes are destroyed or pralaya happens, that part of the world remains the same. And yad gatvana nivartante, one who goes there, he doesn't have to come back again to this material world. And after giving this, then he gives different paths of the yogis, which depending on their consciousness at the time of death, what is their destination. So he gives, if somebody lives in the path of, he describes the two paths, one is of the light and one is of the darkness. So path of light, where he says that he gets Sayujya Mukti, or liberation in Brahma Jyoti. He gets merged into the Brahma Jyoti, that is the effulgence of Krishna. And then if one lives in the darkness, then he gets to the spiritual, not to the spiritual kingdom, but to Swarga Loka, Tatra Chandramasam Jyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. He attains the Soma planet or the Swarga Loka, but after enjoyment there, he has to come back again, Nivartate. And but the devotee, then he gets that even the devotee or his bhakta or yogi, he knows both of these paths, but he is not worried about this because he has surrendered himself into Krishna's will, and then Krishna takes care of him. So he doesn't have to worry about, oh, if he's living in the darkness or light, or at certain point of time, or certain Uttarayan, Dakshinayan, Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha, all these details what we read or read in last couple of weeks. So that's where we had read that Naite Sruti Partha Janan Yogi Muhyati Kashana, the devotee who is Yoga Yukta, is never disturbed, never bewildered, never Muhyati. Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu, Tasmat, therefore, Sarveshu Kaleshu, all the time, what should you do? He is asking Arjuna, Yoga Yukta Bhava Arjuna. You should become Yoga Yukta. You should always engage in my devotional service. And we saw this yoga yukta word in multiple places Krishna uses. We saw, I think, in 5th chapter. Now, so, but there are different paths than bhakti that we know, right? There is study of Vedas, there is yajna, there is tapa. So what is that? Then there is dana. So aren't those pious activities? Shouldn't the devotee aspire for the punya or the pious activity that he gets by doing all these activities recommended in the Vedic literature? So let's see what Krishna says here. So let's recite this verse and we will get into detail, and we'll then see how this summarizes the whole 8th, as well as it actually started with the 7th chapter where Krishna described his glories first, and then in the end he came up with some technical terms that Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, and all those, which Arjuna asked as the first in the beginning of this chapter. Okay, so that kind of is a quick review of 8th chapter. So let's recite this verse. Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva.
Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva.
Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Atteti tat sarvamidam viditva.
Atteti tat sarvam idam viditva.
Atteti tat sarvamidam viditva.
Atteti tat sarvam idam viditva.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Now this chanda is different little bit. The most of the Bhagavad Gita verses are in Anushtupa chanda, so that is the 16th level. So it's same as what we read previous Naite Sruti Partha Janan. So this is Anushtupa chanda. There are 4, so this is divided into 4 pieces. But this one is called Trishtupa chanda. So this is so Bhagavad Gita has this is, so that's why the meter is a little bit different when we recite this verse. So there are very few verses in Bhagavad Gita which are in Trishtup Chanda, but mostly in Anushtup. Actually, 11th chapter has most Trishtup Chanda. So it is a little bit difficult for people in general considered as for memorization. Okay, so let's recite again. Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva.
Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Atteti tat sarvamidam viditva.
Atteti tat sarvam viditva.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Okay, we'll get a couple of recitations. Let's start with Madhu Prabhu. You want to recite, Prabhu?
Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Daneshu yat punyafalam pradishtam.
Atteti tat sarvamidam viditva.
Atteti tat sarvamidam viditva.
Yogi param sthanamupeti chadyam.
Yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Chandrakant Prabhu, want to recite?
Okay. Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva.
दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम्
दानेषु यत्
दानेषु यत्
पुण्यफलं
पुण्यफलं
प्रदिष्टम्
प्रदिष्टम्
अत्तेति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा
अत्येति तत्सर्वं
सर्वमिदं
विदित्वा
विदित्वा
योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम्
योगी
योगी
परं
परं
स्थानमुपैति
स्थानमुपैति
चाद्यम्.
चाद्यम्.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So let's do word for word meaning. So Vedeshu means in the study of the Vedas. Yagneshu means the performance of yagna or sacrifice. Tapasu means in undergoing different types of austerities or tapasya. Cha means also. Eva means certainly. Daneshu means in giving charity or dan. Yat means that which. Punya phalam means the result of the pious work. Pradishtam means indicated. Atyeti means surpasses. Tat sarvam means all those. Idam means this. Viditva means knowing. Yogi, here it means devotee. Param means supreme. Sthanam means place or abode. Upaiti means achieves or attains. Cha means also. And Adyam means Adi, original, Adyam. Translation. A person who accepts the path of devotional service, the yogi, the highest form of yoga. So a person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these. And at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Param sthanam upaiti. The original, Adyam. So yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. He attains the supreme eternal abode. So this Krishna is giving full protection to his devotees. What he's saying is that, so what happens if somebody dedicates his life in Krishna's service and becomes his devotee? So is he kind of bereft of studying the Vedic knowledge or the fruits what he will get by studying the Vedic knowledge or giving charity? Because charity is considered to be pious activity. Person gets all his good results. Punya. These are called punya. And the fruits of that punya, one who gets by giving charity, studying the Vedas, or doing austerity, performing tapa, or doing sacrifices, or philosophical studies and everything. So everything he does, they get a certain type of phala for that, some type of pious punya phala. So is the devotee bereft of this because he cannot engage in all these activities and because he engages in Krishna service? So Krishna says no. He actually attains the supreme destination even if he is incomplete in all other activities. Just by becoming his devotee, just by becoming yogi, he attains the param sthanam, the ultimate supreme abode of Krishna, the Vaikuntha planet. So just by becoming devotee, he has given the result. Those are above all these activities. Vedas, studying the Vedas, yajna, tapa, dana, and all other karma activities. So bhakti is above all these. So that's what he is saying here. That first in the previous verses, he explained that a person, a yogi, when he dies in certain time, then he attains the Brahman realization the Brahman mukti or liberation, merging into Brahman. And if certain person dies in the path of darkness, then he gets the Swarga Loka, but he has to come back again. But a devotee of Krishna, a bhakta, is not worried about this. And this is what Krishna is concluding in this chapter, that because I take care of him. He is not bereft of any of this phala of Vedas, Yajna, Tapa, Dana, or any Punya phala activities he is supposed to do. So let's read the purport. So purport is little bit bigger, so we'll have some of you to read. So Rajesh Anantaraman Prabhu, do you want to read the first two paragraphs?
The verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master, just like a servant, and he may beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance, as described in BhagavadGita. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, householder life, Vanaprastha, and finally sannyasa, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some of them elevated to the heavenly kingdom. And when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyotir or in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by Vedic literatures.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So here we'll go just group by group. So here whole Varnashram Dharma, or that is what the real Sanatan Dharma is. So is described. So how from childhood to old age, how one goes through different stages of all the ashramas. So the Varnashram Dharma, the real name, we always call that Sanatan Dharma, right? The Hindu name is given to us by the foreigners. But the original Dharma, what we follow is Sanatan Dharma. So it is Vedic Varnashram Sanatan Dharma. So Varna, 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. 4 Varnas are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and 4 Ashramas are Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. And when one follows these 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, abiding by the scriptural injunctions given in all the Vedic literature, that following is called Sanatana Varnashram Dharma. So the summation of this is basically, this verse is the sum of all the what we have learned so far in the 7th and the 8th chapter. So 7th and 8th chapter, we learn, first thing we learn about Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He established that in the 7th verse. Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. And he also established that all these what we see around is his energies, everything. Bhumira, ponalo, vayu, khammano, buddhirevacha. So this is material energy. And apareyam tuitam anya prakriti viddhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho. So jiva bhutam is the spiritual energy. And everything what we see around is made up of these energies. So that we learn in the 7th chapter, and concluding verse is that one who can be in the state of adhibhuta, adidaiva understanding, then he can get free from this entanglement. And that's where this 8th chapter was started. Arjuna asked him, oh, what is this Brahman? What is this Adhyatma you are talking about? What is Adhyadnya? Or what is Adidaiva? And then, and how can one think of you at the time of leaving this body. And that's where this whole chapter was elaborated. And he also asked, what is karma? So this verse basically gives the conclusion to that this whole Vedic understanding, what we have learned so far in these two verses, a devotional service to Krishna is the supreme. So here, first, Prabhupada is describing about the Vedic knowledge, how we can apply Vedic knowledge. So a student from his childhood, age 5 to 20, Prabhupada explains here, at least from age 5 to 20, he goes to Gurukul and becomes a brahmachari, follows the brahmacharya life. And how does he spend that life? By serving his spiritual master, by going door to door and asking alms, or what we call as madhukari. And then he gives whatever he has brought as madhukari, the food, he gives to the spiritual master, his guru. And if guru forgets or neglects him to call for the food, he fasts that day. So he just follows guru's order. Now, if we consider this type of philosophy in today's world, this will be considered as child labor and child abuse. But that was done for the higher purpose, and even the guru was not abusive, and then the children were following all the instructions. And once he is learned in all the Vedic knowledge given by guru, then there are two paths. One, he can remain as a Naishtika brahmachari, or he can get into grihastha life and he get married and have a family life. So in family life, then he is allowed to enter into household life and marry and then enjoy to a certain extent, according to, again, following the rules and regulations given in the Vedic literature. But does he remain forever in the family life and enjoy and have fun? No, he supports the other varnas, brahmachari, vanaprastha and sannyasa. So he is the one who is maintaining all of them, because they are all, the other three varnas are not, other three ashramas are not earning anything. So grihastha takes the responsibility to support them. And by supporting them, eventually at the age of 50 or little over 50, then he retires from his grihastha life and takes to the vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means prasthana to vana. So there is actually verse. It is said we all should be in vanaprastha technically. So panchashatam, after age of 50, one should accept vanaprastha. That is the verse it says. I don't remember exact wording. But even actually somebody made a fun fact here, joke that even the numbering of the words in Hindi or Marathi, what we say, after Pannas, there comes Ekkavan. So Ekkavan means abhi one jane ka time ho gaya hai. Now it's time to go to one. So broadly, the life is divided into 25, 25, 25, 25. First 25 years brahmachari, next 25 years as grihastha, the next 25 years from 51 to 75 as vanaprastha, and then sannyas. But that's in ideal condition. And then he should give charity. So charity to whom? The brahmanas who are qualified and who will engage all that charity they get in the propagating of Sanatana Dharma. And then the charity has to be given. We'll read in the 17th chapter eventually, Satrava Adhyay, how charity can be done in the Satogun, Rajogun and Tamogun. So he should be aware of how the charity is to be done. It should always be in the Satogun or in the mode of goodness. Otherwise it becomes binding. And then, so this is what all is explained here. So what happens to somebody who is in Krishna consciousness or who takes to the devotional life? So let's read that next couple of paragraphs, actually remaining all part. Sunil Prabhu, do you want to read the remaining?
The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. The words idam viditva tattva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapter 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The first six and the last six chapters are like coverings for the middle six chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle six chapters in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculation, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the fourth chapter it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is the sign of faith. One who searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna activities, form, pastime, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains the state of feelings always Krishna consciousness. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Gokul Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the eighth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of attaining the Supreme.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So here the emphasis is given that even though we follow this all Vedic Varnashram Dharma, but there is something better than that, and that says that the path of Vedic Sanatana Dharma is longer. One has to go through several steps and multiple lifetimes, but the beauty of Krishna consciousness is that in one stroke, by devotional service, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. And again, it is said in different places in the different scriptures also, that when we engage in Krishna's service, he takes our charge, and then we don't have to go through the long route or the path, or the in some places Prabhupada uses the word taking steps. This comparing that the Vedic path is compared as a taking steps, versus bhakti is considered as taking elevator, lift. So by lift, one can get direct path and it is also enjoyable. But at the same time, the Vedic path, for getting there are chances of fall down, as well as there is it's a very long process. And we'll read in the next chapter, actually, Krishna says that susukham kartum avyayam. So this path is susukham, it can be very, very happily performed. And pratyaksha dharmam, one can experience pratyaksha. So we'll read that in the 9th chapter in the beauty. Then Prabhupada also explains about this, how this Bhagavad Gita is separated. The first 6 chapters broadly classified as Karma Yoga. The last 6 chapters are classified as Jnana Yoga. But in between two, Bhakti Yoga, the 7th through 12th chapter, Satva Adhyay pe 12वां अध्याय is whole thing is based on the core of Bhakti Yoga, that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and it is well protected between Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So middle 6 chapters, and then Prabhupada explains that this one should try to learn Bhagavad Gita, this essence of Bhagavad Gita, not by mental speculators, not by somebody who is just scholar in Sanskrit and can translate these words according to him. No, this can be understood only in the association of devotees, only by bhakti. And Prabhupada refers to the 4th chapter here because in the beginning, first 3 verses of the 4th chapter, Krishna says that this knowledge I had given it to sun god Vivaswan. Imam Vivasvate Yogan Proktavan Aham Avyam. This Avyaya Jnana or yoga, knowledge of yoga, I had given it to sun god Vivaswan. Vivaswan Manave Praha. Vivaswan gave it to his son Manu. Manu Ikshvakave Abravit. And Manu gave it to his son Ikshvaku. And this knowledge, that's how it is received only through this Guru Shishya Parampara. Evam Parampara Praptam. Imam Rajarshayo Vidu. This knowledge is received by the Rajarshis in this disciplic succession, Guru Shishya Parampara. And that's how it has to be received. But he says that Sakalene Hamata Yogo Nashta Parantapa. But over a period of time, Sakalena, this yoga or this knowledge or the science of Krishna consciousness or the spiritual science over a period is lost. And that's why Krishna says that I am telling you the same knowledge again, O Arjuna, because bhakto se me sakha chaiti. Because you are my bhakta and you are my friend. And we discussed this in the 4th chapter. So who is qualified to get this knowledge or who can understand this knowledge? Who is bhakta of Krishna and who is eligible to understand because he has bhakti in developed certain relationship with Krishna in that bhakti. So there are 5 primary rasas we talked about. 5. What are the primary rasas in which one can perform bhakti of Krishna? The first one is Shantaras. One is just because Krishna is great, he is God. When he understands by studying this knowledge, he appreciates Krishna's Aishwarya Bhav. He appreciates Krishna's superiority, supremacy, and then he becomes his devotee. So he is Shantaras. Then second one is Dasya. So one is trying to serve Krishna. Like Hanumanji is the greatest example, who is always ready to serve Lord Ramchandra. Then Sakhya Rasa. Sakhya is Arjuna. And that's what Krishna is saying. Bhakto sime sakhacha iti. You are my friend and you are my devotee. And then higher than that is called Vatsalya Rasa, where Devaki, Vasudev or Yashoda Mata or Nanda Maharaj or Dashrath or Kausalya, they are serving Krishna as in a parental affection. The parents are the best servant of their children. They take good care of them and their love is they want to love them so much. So that love is considered as, that is said as Vatsalya Rasa. And then the highest is called Madhurya Rasa, where conjugal love. So these 5 rasas in which a devotee can reciprocate with Krishna. So that's why when we understand Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees, we not necessarily get only the philosophy, but we get the rasa behind it. We get that essence of the mellow of bhakti and everything. Why Krishna is giving this knowledge? Because he's so compassionate. He is worried about all of us. We are his children. In the 10th chapter, he says eventually that Tesham evanukampartham aham ajnanajam tama nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. That when one engages in my devotional service, what do? Tesham, because I am compassionate, I have anukampa for them. Tesham eva anukampartham aham ajnanajam tama nashayatmi. I eradicate or remove all the darkness of ignorance from their heart. Ajnanajam tamaha. Ajnanacha andhakar. How? Jnanadipena bhasvata. By lighting knowledge, the diva, light of knowledge in their heart. That all ignorance which is gone. And what is that ignorance? the real ignorance that I'm not this body, I am Krishna's eternal servant, not this knowledge what we go to school and learn 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 ABCD, and then this is called technical skills in the Vedic literature. This is not real knowledge. Knowledge is knowing our own identity, knowing our relationship with the Supreme, and how to act in that relationship with the Supreme. That is what is the essence, and this is termed in the 3 words all the Vedas are made for. That is Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. So this is the essence. These 3 words are the essence of all the Vedic literature that is created, including Bhagavad Gita. We re-establish the Sambandha with Supreme. Then Abhideya, we work in that relationship, and Prayojan is to attain his highest love and eternally serve him. So that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, that we can understand only in the association of devotees, not by mental speculator. Because everybody who is trying to translate Bhagavad Gita or explain it is conditioned soul. They are materially conditioned. They are not purified spiritually. And they will have, because they are impure, their impurities will come through Bhagavad Gita. So they will mentally speculate Bhagavad Gita according to their own whims. And Prabhupada gives sometimes the explanation of Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan when he says that the 9th chapter, last verse, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto. Krishna clearly says, yeah, Manmana, think of me, Bhavamad Bhakto, become my devotee, Mam Namaskuru, offer obeisances to me. Why? That not that Krishna needs it. No. Mame Vaishyasi Yukto Evam Atmanam Parayana. Then you will come to me, and then you will be free from all this Dukkhalayama Shashvatam. But Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan translated that, oh, it is not we should worship Krishna, we should think of him. No, he is not saying that. It is something inside him that we should think of. Prabhupada says, how stupid it can be. Krishna is clearly saying, become my devotee. Or in other places also, he says, Mad Bhakta Sangha Varjita. So many places he's saying the same thing, but these people who just try to, they want to get Krishna out of Bhagavad Gita, and then they explain Bhagavad Gita. That's the fault. So that's why we should understand Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or the Vedic literature from the devotees who knows the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And what is the essence? Krishna says, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. That the purpose of the Vedas is to understand me, to know me. Vedaisha sarvair, of all the Vedas, aham eva vedya, I am the only person to be known. Vedanta krit veda videvacha aham. And I am the compiler of the Vedas, and I am the Veda, knower of the Vedas. So the essence of the purpose of whole Vedic knowledge is to know Krishna. Anadi Bahirmukh Jeev Krishna Bhuli Gela, Ata Eva Krishna Veda Purana Karila. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that this Jeev who is Bahirmukh, who is finding happiness, who is trying to get from the material world some certain happiness, Anadi, he is Anadi, Bahirmukh Jeev, his living entity, Krishna Bhuli Gela, he has forgotten Krishna. Ata Eva, therefore, Krishna Veda Purana Karila. That's why Krishna had created all these Vedas and Puranas and all the literature, and Vyasdev, he comes in the form of Vyasdev, writes Itihasas, everything, Mahabharata, all this, just to somehow or other give him knowledge and give him information about Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the highest perfectional stage of life, what is that? Is he is transferred to Goloka Vrindavan, that is the highest spiritual abode of Krishna in the spiritual planets. It's the supreme Vaikuntha planet where devotee becomes eternally happy. And that is the real happiness. We are seeking happiness through some sense gratification here by satisfying our senses, but that is very low grade of happiness. We don't even know what happiness is. Sukham atyantikam yat buddhigrayam atindriyam. Krishna says in the 6th chapter that Atyantika Sukha is beyond our senses, mind, and intelligence. We cannot even comprehend that. But the senses, the happiness we are seeking here is through our senses. Oh, I want to go for a movie. Because I want to please my ears, my eyes, my mind. It will get some pleasure. I watch something. Or I want to eat in a specific restaurant because I want to satisfy my taste buds, the tongue. But that happiness is temporary. And actually it is carrying distress in it, because it is temporary. It has a beginning and an end, and as soon as it ends, I am distressed again about that, and then I'm seeking for another kind of happiness, something similar over a period of time. But this is Anandambudi Vardhanam. Anand Ambudi means ocean. This is ocean of happiness. And ocean never increases, but this is ever increasing. Anandambudi Vardhanam. It is ever increasing happiness that we cannot comprehend in this material world. That type of happiness, a devotee experiences in this bhakti. And we have so many examples of devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj he didn't care. His father became his enemy. He tries to kill him. But he was eternally happy. He didn't care what his father is doing to him, because he knew Narayan is always taking care of me. He told his father also. His father asked him, "Oh, where do you get this strength from? How dare you? All the devatas are afraid of me, and you, young boy, you are not afraid of me. Where do you get this power from?" Prahlad Maharaj said, "There is only one source of power. You and I get from the same source, and that is Narayan." So that when one is realized and when one is devoted to Krishna, then he doesn't have to worry about it, and then he is eternally in the state of that happiness. And then he is not seeking for this inferior happiness here and there. So I will stop there. But yeah, this is the general essence of the 8th and 7th chapter, that if the devotee, he attains just by engaging in Krishna's devotional service, Krishna's bhakti, he attains all the fruits one can attain by studying the Vedas, by yajna, by tapa, by dana, or by any karma phala he can get. He is never left bereft of that. Actually, he attains much higher than that. So stop there and let's get some reflections. This finishes our 8th chapter, which is, again, everything is beautiful, but it is one of the very nice chapters from BhagavadGita. Any thoughts, Prabhuji's?
Actually, whatever is said here, middle chapters actually, chapter 7 onwards, right?
7 to 12.
7 to 12 means this 6th chapter and after that 6th chapter. These are the main core part of the Bhagavad Gita actually. Especially protected by Lord means what actually? I was listening saw this. Is it because the core knowledge of Gita is given in the chapters? It is, it is a further more, I feel it is more deeper knowledge. It talks more about birth, death, and going to the higher planets, all Varnashrama.
Mm-hmm. So the middle 6 chapters talk corely about bhakti, how we can increase. So it's in the 7 chapters, chapter itself. After the first 6 chapters, Krishna covers more on karma yoga. So he gives up some Sankhya yoga, karma yoga, analytical study, and then how karma is important, how tapa is to be done, sacrifices in the 4th chapter, and then how you can get nirvana in the 5th chapter. And in the 6th chapter, he describes about the yoga practice, dhyana yoga. And then in the concluding verse of 6th chapter, he said that out of all the yogis, yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana, shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamamata. Shraddha purvak jo maji bhakti karto, he is the highest yogi out of all the yogis. And then that leads into the 7th chapter. So 7th chapter, he starts getting into, in the very first couple of verses, is that now I am going to give you certain knowledge. After knowing that, you will have nothing else to know in this world. That's a very, very bold statement. It starts with that in the 7th chapter. And then he starts with that, and then he establishes his own position that everything what you see around me is the source is my energies. And then Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. In the 7th chapter, 19th verse, he says that after many, many births, one eventually understands that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Vasudeva Krishna is everything, and then he surrenders unto me. So surrender to Krishna is important. He establishes in the 7th chapter itself. So chapters 7 through 12 are middle 6 chapters. And when it says they are protected by the outer 6 chapters, like a covering. So imagine if there is a treasure, if you want to protect some very precious treasure, so you want to put in a secret place where it is in the middle, and you on the top and bottom and all the sides, you will cover it by some illusory thing or something that will protect it very nicely, right? In the same manner, if you consider this Bhagavad Gita as a treasure box, in the middle 6th chapter is the real treasure, and outside they are protected by the outer 6 chapters. 6 chapters in the beginning, 6 chapters in the end. That's what he means here. The middle 6 chapters is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense actually. So we are learning, we are knowing very, very important knowledge, very precious knowledge, I can say. Has never came across in life. First time actually. I mean, you may have read Bhagavad Gita many times. For me, first time. I mean, every verse is the first time I am listening and knowing the meaning. And, more and more getting more knowledge, more awakening about getting aware of this thing.
Yeah, we are very fortunate that
we are very fortunate. I feel fortunate actually knowing this thing very easily, sitting from the comfort of my home house, and I have enough time to sit here and see all those things. So that way I am fortunate. I would like to continue actually. Okay.
Yeah, we all are very fortunate that Prabhupada has written all these purports and made it so easy for us to understand. The format also which he written in, the verse first, then word for word translation, then translating it, then you can relate it, right? Even if you don't understand Sanskrit, but you can see the words how they are coming, and then on top of that, he has written purports from all the essence of Vedic literature and summarizing that verse so beautifully.
Correct.
It's very nice. And on top of that, he has created the worldwide society so that you are not limited. You can get association of devotees any part of the world who are following this knowledge as life and their life and soul. So
people are getting aware about this slowly actually. Outside in India also many people are learning now and doing getting aware of this. That's a good thing actually. And outside I feel this is the way forward actually. This is the whatever has been taught there, what has been written there. Everybody should read, irrespective of whatever the religion they have. That will bring a big transformation in you.
That's true, Prabhu. Correct.
Bhagavad Gita is more of a discipline than a religion. So whichever school you go to, discipline is essential. Tarmak then becomes something that people will want to borrow from. But I think the most important thing that has happened is slowly all the pleasures of life have come to an end. I mean, they have reached the stage where they have experienced all pleasures of life. Now they want new pleasures, and new pleasures are becoming really perverse. I mean, some of the new pleasures are really perverse. So, that kind of For instance, I was seeing somewhere on a Facebook this thing where he talks of dosa with ice cream in it. म्हणजे जिभाला काय पाहिजे हेच कळलं नाही. One of those examples, putting something rasgulla in vada pav, or I mean, what is it that you want? You do not know now. Pleasures have ended, and you are unable to come up with new pleasures, and unable to leave the old ones. So at that point in time, you really don't know. Then you start learning. Oh, Baba, pleasure is not the only thing in life. Pleasures lie in something else, and that is what you want to know, which will be everlasting. I think it is all coming at a right. As they say, even God has a time to arrive.
No, this is all.
And it is at that.
First thing is,
Go ahead.
even though this is coming, but we have to be in the right place at the right time with the right people
Correct.
to get this knowledge. And we should consider ourselves really very fortunate that
Yes.
this knowledge, again, imagine this knowledge getting few hundred years ago. It was, or some, it was very difficult because this was not even written. This was for somebody to go study this, get this knowledge. They have to go to Gurukul. They have to serve their Guru. And then when the Guru thinks, oh, this is qualified, then he will give them knowledge according to Guru's decision, and then they have to completely depend on Guru. Now, today, this knowledge, as Rajesh Parve Prabhu said, I am sitting on my couch and getting this knowledge in how many formats? In a paper book format, in a digital format, I can read in a cell phone, I can carry it anywhere, in an audio book. So, we are in a world where this knowledge, which is Krishna says transcendental knowledge, which is received only in Guru Shishya Parampara, and it was given to the Rajarshis, not ordinary people. So, how fortunate we are, we don't know, we don't realize. And if we are not making the best use of this, then even God cannot save us.
Yes.
So, yeah, we are really in a fortunate situation. Only thing is, we have to make the best use of the bad bargain, whatever we are going through, just by tolerate that, but at the same time, get this knowledge and try to apply it in our life to the best of our ability. It may not be possible to apply everything, but to the best of our ability, and slowly Krishna gives us strength to apply it more and more. He is in our heart as Paramatma. He sees our sincerity, and as soon as he sees our sincerity, he'll give us more guidance. He'll create more facilities for us. He will create more opportunities for us. And I have seen that from my own experience. So that's how I am able to at least read this today. I am able to talk with you all and read this together and try to understand this. Yes, Rajesh Prabhu, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I finished. I was only saying that, we have, for even God to arrive, even Narasimha Murthy arrived only at that designated moment. Till then, he was just watching. So that is where we have landed now. And it is slowly emerging that people have now started realizing, Baba, pleasures are not what we see. They are not economically created. They have to be created by internal discipline.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Any other thoughts?
बऱ्याच दिवसाआधी आपण अनेक मार्गांच्या पैकी बोललो होतो तिथे त्याला की वेगवेगळे मार्ग आहेत त्याला. त्यातला भक्ती मार्ग जो आहे त्याला तो सगळ्यात सोपा आपल्यासाठी है ना. आणि त्याचं रिइटरेशन आणि रेन्फोर्समेंट आपण या ह्याच्यातून केलं. प्लस हे सुद्धा जे आहे त्याला की बाकी कुठल्याही गोष्टीचा आपल्याला काळजी करायची गरज नाही. जर का आपण कृष्ण भक्तीत राहिलो त्याला, तर तुम्ही कुठल्या वेळेस जाणार, काय जाणार, कुठे जाणार, त्याची काही कुठे चिंता करायची गरज नाही. जस्ट फॉलो दॅट अँड लिव्ह एव्हरीथिंग टू द गॉड.
Mhm. Yep. That's the essence of this everything.
म्हणजे reinforcement of that is my takeaway.
Okay. Mhm. Thank you, Prabhuji. Mhm. Chandrakant Prabhu, Madhu Prabhu, you want to add something?
प्रभूजी, जसं राजेश प्रभू म्हटलं तसं वी आर ऑल फॉर्च्युनेट आणि कृष्णाची इच्छा आहे, मर्जी आहे, आपल्यावर कृपा आहे, म्हणूनच आपण हे सगळं करू शकतोय. अदरवाईज एवढं शक्य नव्हतं. आपल्याला घरी बसलं सगळं हे नॉलेज पुन्हा एकदा मिळते. ऍक्च्युली मी स्वतःला फॉर्च्युनेट समजतो. मी म्हणजे लहानपणापासून हे ऐकत आलोय. म्हणून 9वा 12वा 15वा अध्याय हे आम्ही लहानपणापासून म्हणतोय ऍक्च्युली, पण त्यावेळेला त्याचा अर्थ काय होता माहित नाही. फक्त
Exactly.
आपल्याला शिकवलं आणि आपण ते बोलत होतो. त्या हळूहळू आता त्या स्टेजला आलोय की आपण थोडं तरी त्यातलं काहीतरी आपल्याला कळतंय. एवढं सगळं आपली कॅपॅसिटी नाहीये की सगळं एवढं समजून आणि ते आकलन करायची. पण त्यातल्या त्यात तुम्ही ज्या सोप्या पद्धतीने समजून सांगतात आणि प्रभुपादांनी तर ते सगळं लिहूनच आपल्यासाठी हे केलेलंच आहे. तर ही संधी म्हणजे पुन्हा एकदा आपल्याला ती मिळाली त्याबद्दल म्हणजे खरंच तुमचे पण धन्यवाद. आणि अशीच कृष्णाची इच्छा मर्जी आपल्यावर राहू सगळ्यावर आणि आपण हे पूर्ण कंटिन्यू करू. ऍक्च्युली आता मला ती एक्साइटमेंट आहे 9वा 12वा अध्याय त्याचे पण अर्थ समजून घ्यायची खूप. आणि ते आता आपण त्या स्टेजला आलोय. तर थँक्यू वन्स अगेन.
No, thank you, Prabhu, and thank you. Means Krishna sees in our heart, and as I said, he makes sure that you follow that path, and he puts into the right situation. And आपल्याला जरी म्हणजे लहानपणी आपण 15वा अध्याय आम्ही शाळेत म्हणायचो, बरेच
Exactly.
12वा कधी कधी म्हणायचो, पण 15वा मला चांगला आठवतो, आम्ही शाळेत म्हणायचो रोज असं. तर Prabhupada says that even if you don't understand these words, because these words are Krishna's words, BhagavadGita is spoken directly by Krishna, these are purifying to us. जसं आपल्याला एखाद्या औषधाबद्दल खूप माहिती जरी नसली तरी ते औषध घेतलं की ते औषध त्याचं काम करतंय आणि आपण बरे होतो. तर तसं हे कृष्णाचे शब्द आपण जेव्हा म्हणतो किंवा हरे कृष्णा महामंत्र इज कन्सिडर्ड ॲज medicine for this yuga, and Krishna says that he has appeared in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. He has come in the form of his words in this Kali Yuga. So we are actually associating with Krishna if we can elevate ourselves to that level, and we can see that when we are studying Bhagavad Gita or when we are doing our japa, we can literally associate with Krishna, and we can realize that when we get that to that stage. But Krishna is always with us in the form of his books, in the form of his mantra, in the form of his name, everything. So thanks to Prabhupada for taking his so much effort for not for gaining anything for himself, but for because he was so much compassionate of everyone. Yeah. So,
But as this Prabhu said that in childhood we learned some, maybe we didn't understand what it was, but त्याचा आता अर्थ कळतोय.
आता हा.
Another thing is that it probably did not permit us to go astray.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there is, I cannot definitely say की असं आहे, पण that kind of a training did not allow us to go so astray that to come back was difficult. म्हणजे कुठेतरी we could gather ourselves and come back.
Yeah.
We were, in a return back state. Itself is good. And another thing is that makes it a little comfort with Sanskrit verses. Uchchar वगैरे. So now when I think in my Bal Vikas and all this, they taught us 4-5. Some of them I still remember some verses in between. म्हणजे कोणी सांगितलं तर त्यांच्या बरोबर. But I seriously had never thought. Meaning ते सगळं शिकलं बरोबर आहे, but now you start really realizing and why some of the key chapters that it will help you much later when you realize that these are the crux points which you will in the event you take up the whole of Bhagavad Gita. So I think that was good enough foresight. I mean, on hindsight, I think now, but it's coming in useful.
Yeah, nothing goes in vain. Krishna said in 6th chapter, right?
Correct.
Whatever you have, it is that is the real wealth what we can take with us
Yes.
forever.
That can never be diminished, stolen.
That can never be diminished. Yeah. That is the real wealth.